Okay? Wes and I are running on about 2 hours sleep, so you're going to have to bear with us if we lose our train of thought. But it's going to get here a little bit from me, a little bit from Wes. We're going to let Robert close the day, but y'all are in for a huge gift. Some incredible things. Fortunate enough to have, all of us kind of do our own things, but when you have the visionary here, I mean, to know Robert when all this was just an idea on the legal pad, and to see what's going on right now in such a short period of time, it's almost like pinch me, I'm dreaming. But his vision, his leadership, the fact that he got on a plane this morning and came here to give you guys, he has a very, very busy schedule with the public company and everything that's going on. So the fact that he's here, you're real fortunate. But, I'm just going to spend a few minutes here talking about different things. I guess the first thing I'd like to tell you is what Chris was talking about, systems. Sometimes people fail, but when you have systems in place, one of the things we talk about is to teach your people to become system dependent, not sponsor dependent. As long as Wes don't go to sleep on the way home, it probably won't happen. But if I had an accident on the way home today and I wasn't here tomorrow, I'd want the people that I sponsored to still be successful in this business because there's a system in place. They're dependent on the system, not me personally. Do I help them? Sure, I help them. But reality is you need systems in place where people come dependent on the systems. And I can tell you that Robert is a systems person that implements certain things where it continues to take more burdens off the leaders where they can go out and do what they do best. But I'm just going to kind of, over the next few minutes is just, if I've got permission from you guys to kind of just take the gloves off and not tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear. A lot of times you come to these trainings and it's all about all the positives and this, and nobody will talk about what happens under the radar or what you must do. I'm a very straightforward person. I just lay all my cards on the table. I don't use the word easy. Business is not easy. It's very hard work. But I will tell you, with the systems and the leadership and the events and stuff that are in place, it's not easy, but it is simple. If you'll put together half of the effort that you've been putting in that other job that's got you broke, just kind of subsidize and put half of it over into this opportunity and watch what happens in 6 months. It's totally different, and the words are incredible, as you've heard of some of the testimonies. But I guess I'll start out. I'll use 2 or 3 different acronyms for those of you that are taking notes today. And I'm an acronym person. I'm a guy that I don't have a very big vocabulary, but I'm a numbers guy. And sometimes people lie, but numbers don't. And I guess the first acronym I'll talk about as we start today is the word luck. L-U-C-K. The first company I got involved in 1995, my sister was a 6-figure earner and very rapidly, and I was the one that told her no for a long time before I finally told her and my mother yes and got involved. And, in that first company, although I've become a trainer and one of the top guys and all that, I always got told that I was lucky because I was Dee's brother. Dee was the number 3 money earner in that company. She made 7 figures 3 consecutive years. And I was Dee's brother, and it's kind of like, I kind of got in the habit of telling people I am lucky. I've been told I was lucky all my life. But, one thing I found out about luck is the harder you work, the luckier you get. It just seems to come in that fashion. So as we talk about the training today, what Wes and I and Robert are going to talk to you about is this acronym. And I use that. It means laboring under correct knowledge. In layman terms, it kind of means working smart, not hard. Working smart, not hard. How many of you want to take the rugged road path, or you'd rather take the smooth road path? Wes and I had that new Ford truck set. He fell asleep over there. I had that new truck set on 95, but we were on the smooth road. You know what I mean? Trying to get here, and it's different. And I'm the first one to tell you, the last 23 years full time since 95, it's been a roller coaster ride. I've had ups and downs like a roller coaster, and I went from penthouse back to outhouse, back to penthouse more than once. Okay, but we learn from our mistakes, and we learn what works and what doesn't work. Where you don't want to invest $1 on a potential system or a capture page or anything where it's not going to come back to you dressed up like a $20 bill. And we've learned from our mistakes of what worked and what doesn't. So what we're going to talk about over the next me and Wes and I, is about laboring under correct knowledge, working smart, not hard. I want you to get the most out of your time, the most out of your effort, the most out of your busy day, the sacrifices that it takes. Those of you that have sacrificed times away from your family and times away from your weekend to be here today, I commend you for being here. But you need to know going forward, when you talk to your prospects or you talk to your existing entrepreneurs, there's sacrifices involved. To get to that promised land where you have that mailbox money, that residual income money that comes in over and over and over, and we're going to talk about residuals here in just a minute. There's sacrifices that involve. Just like you sacrificing your Saturday today, Chris could be out on that boat. I saw pictures of him and Ricky out there yesterday on Facebook. He could be out there again, but he sacrificed time from his family and his hobbies and what he likes to do to come here to pursue his business. So just know that there's sacrifices involved. But I will tell you this, it's less sacrifice than normal, and the rewards are way bigger than you can ever imagine if you're willing to make the certain sacrifices. But when we talk about laboring under the correct knowledge and working smart, not hard, the first thing I want to talk about, and Wes reminded me of this when I found out I was going to have a few minutes to talk to you guys. He said, one of the things you said in Branson that really hit home with me, be sure you cover this, and I want to challenge you and write this down. Don't confuse activity with productivity. There's a big difference. Don't confuse activity with productivity. They're 180 degrees on the complete different ends of the spectrum. That hamster, he's running in the wheel, but he's not getting anywhere, right? I see people in this business that are really, really busy. They're the first ones on the conference call to state their name. They're the first ones to get that camera straight on the Zoom. They're the first one to show up at the Super Saturday meeting with their name tag on and say hi to everybody and make everybody a cup of coffee. But reality is you don't get paid for doing none of that. How productive are you? That's what matters. How many new customers did you acquire today? How many new samples did you pass out today? How many new emails? How many guests do you have on the Monday night webinar? Those are things that are productive. So don't confuse activity with productivity. That's going to be one of the things that we talk about, is to make sure that whatever time it is that you're working the business, it doesn't matter. We love the part-time person. You need to know that part-time people probably do about 85% of the company's volume. Part-time people are awesome. We love them. They love their traditional careers. They might be a school teacher or a fireman or a veterinarian or a carpenter. They may have a true passion for whatever it is that their traditional career is. Don't go get an appointment with somebody and just slam down on them and you want them to become an entrepreneur full-time. It's okay if they start part-time. I have a part-time guy and his wife in my business that have a 70-hour-a-week job. They have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and she's pregnant again due the 17th of September, and they just went black diamond. Okay? So part-time people are good. See, sometimes 20% of an effective part-time person is better than 100% of a couch potato. Okay? Remember that, okay? Going forward. So when you talk to somebody and they say, hey, Keith, I'm busy. I got a full-time job. I got a part-time job. I teach the youth group at the church. I've got a little league team. I'm just too busy. You know what I say? That's great. I'm looking for busy people. I'm not looking for couch potatoes. I'm looking for busy people. So when we talk about not confusing activity with productivity, you got to make sure that you're productive. And in our business, you don't have to do a lot of things. You just have to do 3 or 4 things very good. And that is, if you can, in our business, if you can ask somebody, if I meet you for a cup of coffee, you get somebody to sample a product, and you're halfway good at follow-up, this product will literally sell itself. Okay, so you got to make sure that you're active. Not just active. You got to make sure that you're productive moving forward. I don't want to share you with a lot of boring stories, but my favorite person in the world was my grandma. She died in 2002. That was my daddy's mother. Keith Yarbrough, we called her. And I'll never forget, in the first company, my very best friend, his name was Tyson. And my sister was a top money earner. I was making my ways up the ranks, and we were doing really good. And I wanted it worse for my best friend than he wanted it for himself. I tried everything. I'd pick him up before the meetings. I did more 3-ways and more meetings and more. I spent more time with him than I did the rest of my organization combined. I wanted it worse for Tyson than he wanted it for himself. And I always learned, my grandmother was 95 when she passed. And I always learned from my grandmother, and I'll never forget, about a year into that business, she always asked me, she said, well, how's Tyson and Rhonda doing? I said, well, I said, I've tried everything, Granny. I don't know what to tell you. I said, I've done this. We've done everything we can to help them in the business. Sometimes I feel like it would be cheaper and better on me if I just spent all that time with the rest of my people and I just sent him a check at the end of the month. I love him that much, And we were talking about this being active and being productive, because Tyson was active, he just wasn't very productive. And my grandmother always put it in these very harsh layman terms. When we talking about, she knew that I had to put things in layman terms to get them to relate to everything. And at that time, it's about 7:30 one morning. She's cooking breakfast, and like Wes told you, we stop and eat breakfast, and breakfast is important at our house. We eat a big breakfast. And about that time, my grandmother told me, she said, Keith, it's almost like you're using activity versus productivity. Here's see if you can relate to this. She said, there's a big difference between you and Tyson. She said, Tyson is involved in your business, but you are committed to the business. There's a big difference. And him being involved and you being committed, she said, the outcome is totally different. And I said, well, Granny, they kind of sound the same. You're involved in a business, or you're committed to the business. She said, no, they're totally different. They're big time different. And about that time, she slid me my breakfast. And it was 3 eggs sunny side up and a big old piece of country ham and biscuits and gravy. We eat good in East Texas. And she said, it's a lot like your breakfast. And I said, I don't understand. She said, the chicken was involved in your breakfast, but the pig was committed. Tyson is involved in your business, but you're committed. You put your butt on the line. You're doing what it takes to do whatever you have to do to make sure that your business is committed. So I just challenge you, as you work this business, don't catch yourself wanting it worse for a family member or worse for your best friend than you want it for yourself. And you got to spend your time with the people that are the most productive. And here's what I tell you about how my business eventually, where I went from a 5-figure earner to a 6-figure earner to eventually being a 7-figure earner. I had a guy teach me, and he said to Keith, you got to understand that you need to pick the people that are committed to the business, and you need to spend 80% of your time with them. Another lady that was in Tyson's group was a lady by the name of Becky Rice. And Becky was really, really, really high maintenance, but she wasn't very productive. And what Ken taught me to do was, he said, you need to spend 80% of your time with the people that are productive on a daily basis, and you need to tell Tyson and tell Becky Rice you'll see them Tuesday night at the meeting. Those people that are committed, that you're spending 80% of your time with, those are the ones that you set your alarm clock at 2 o'clock in the morning and get up and do a conference call in Australia in the middle of the night. Those are the ones that you do a 3-way for. Those are the ones while you're finally sit down to eat lunch with your family, and a 3-way comes in and you take the call. The rest of the people you don't. So there is some management involved here when you talk about managing your business, and we're going to talk about that real briefly. But excuse me. Just remember, anything worth having takes a certain amount of sacrifices. Don't confuse activity with productivity. And I want to challenge you to remember that one of the biggest things that attract people to our industry is not having a boss. Okay? You heard Tina talking about, I didn't want to have an alarm clock. I didn't want to have nobody telling me that I have to do this or have to do that. So a big attraction in our business is not having a boss. No time limits or no quotas. You can go as slow or as fast as you want to. I catch myself all the time saying, you're not going to get fired or probated or written up due to your lack of production. Some people join this industry and get involved simply because of the people you meet and the camaraderie. I have one lady in our group that has got a lot of money. It's not about the money to her. Excuse me, thank you, Mama. She's in great health. And it's about the camaraderie and the friendship with her. So no time limits, no quotas. But at the same time, that attracts a lot of people to the industry. When I talk about taking the gloves off and just laying it on the line to you, I will tell you, what's Paul Harvey, the guy that just died, the rest of the story. The rest of the story is there's no time limits, no quotas, but the hard part of this business is learning how to employ yourself. Okay? It's the hardest part of the business. They're going to tell you all the good things. Great products, unlimited income potential, get up and go to work when you want to. The hard part, the hardest part of this business is learning how to employ yourself. All our lives we've had somebody that told us what time to punch in, what time to punch out, when we can go to lunch, when we can take a break, what our quota is or what our production line is or whatever. When you get in this business, we help manage people, but we don't crack the whip on them about their production. 85% of the people are part-time. Let me tell you this, if you want to work the business part-time, that's great. 85% of the people start out part-time. But right up front, I'm going to tell you, there's a difference between part-time and sometime. Right. If you're part-time and you're going to come to work for me on Monday through Friday from 4 o'clock p.m. to 6 o'clock p.m., you're only going to work 2 days a week, guess what? First couple times you're not productive, or first couple times you don't show up, you're going to get fired. Even though it's part-time, you've got to hold yourself accountable and make sure you're productive. Part-time's great. 85% of our volume comes from part-time people. That's the backbone to the industry. But guess what? Part-time is part-time, not sometime. If you're going to work the business, I don't care if you're going to work it 10 hours a week. Keith, I'm a busy guy. I can give you 10 hours a week. That can either be 2 hours every night during the week. It can be all day on Saturday because I spend family time on Sunday. Or it can be 5 hours on Saturday and 5 hours on Sunday. I don't care. But if you're going to commit to 10 hours a week, commit to 10 hours a week and work at that 10 hours a week just like you do your traditional career. If you'll commit to 10 hours a week for a year, this income will surpass that other traditional career that's got you broke. Okay? 10 hours a week for a year is what minimum commitment I would be looking for. Wes is going to talk about a red letter day and re-sponsoring yourself today. It doesn't matter what happened before, what's today, August 28th? July. I'm not talking. Is it today? July 28th? Doesn't matter what happened before July 28th. Today, you can get re-sponsored today. Okay? They're going to tell you one of the things you're going to learn in trainings in the future is how to do a personal testimony. It's 30 to 120 seconds. In that personal testimony, you can say something like, you know what? I got involved as an entrepreneur back in March, but I went to a training on July the 28th, and I got re-sponsored, and I got committed, and since July 28th, I've done this. You see what I'm saying? I got involved as an entrepreneur back in January, but 7 months later, I went to a training. I re-sponsored myself. Now I understand I got to treat my business like a business. And I got committed on July 28th, and this has happened since then. You see, you treat your business like a business, it'll respond like a business. You treat your business like a hobby, guess what? Hobbies are expensive. Bass fishing, parasailing, scuba diving, NASCAR. Hobbies are expensive. Boating, you can spend more on your hobbies than you do your business. You can spend more on your business than you make if you treat it like a hobby. Do you understand that the people that are making the kind of money that you want to get to, they treat their entrepreneur business like a multi-million-dollar corporation? Amen. You see, I knew what time my son had to wake me up. I knew that I had to get up and get dressed. I knew I had to be at Wes's house this morning at 4 a.m. Okay? I know what time we're going to get here. I know what time we're going to leave. And guess what? On the way back, I know that there's $1 million earner in Alexandria that Wes and I are going to stop and have dinner with tonight on the way back. Then we're going to stop and see somebody else for coffee in Shreveport, and then we're going to get home because he's got a guy meeting him at the house at 11. That's the way you treat your entrepreneur business if you want it to respond like a multi-million-dollar corporation. You see, if you're just going out there and you're getting up and you're showering, you're shaving, and you're putting your clothes on, and you tell your wife, okay, I'll be back here in a little while. Where are you going, honey? I don't know, but it's somebody's lucky day. That don't work. There is some luck involved in our business, but you do that day after day after day. Don't expect to make the kind of money and have the successful business that people that are treating their business like a multi-million-dollar corporation. Marcy Cavanaugh wants her husband out of that chicken ranch. Guess what? She gets up every day with a specific game plan of how her and her husband are going to sell that chicken farm. That's what I'm talking about. What are your goals? Why did you get in this business? Why are you here on a Saturday? What is it that you want? It doesn't need to be that I want to get out of debt, or I want a new house, or I want a new car. It needs to be written down and specific. If you want a new car, what kind of car? If you want a new house, what color house, on how many acres, how many square feet? What kind of boat? Exactly what Chris was talking about. He knew specifically exactly what kind of boat he wanted. If you want a new car, it needs to be 2018 Lexus LS 470, black with tin interior with a moonroof on January 1st, 2019. That's a why, not I want a new car. Not I want to get out of debt. How about pay my mortgage off, pay my car off, get out of credit card debt, and prepay my kids' college tuition by the summer of 2019? That's specific. That's a real goal. You know why? A real goal is written down and reviewed every single day. You see, Wes and I knew how to get here. Okay, we knew to take 20 east to Shreveport and then get on 49 south down to 10 and then get on 10 to New Orleans. We knew how to get here, but guess what? Both of us had it pulled up on our GPS. You know why? I like watching that little dot to see if you're making measurable progress. Okay? It's the same thing with the goal. If your goal's not written down where you can look at it, you can't see if you're making measurable progress. Do you not understand that if your state of mind is not belief rather than hope or wish, it's not going to happen? Your state of mind has to be belief. You have to know that you're going to... Robert's going to talk to you about a car that he wanted early in his career. You heard Chris talking about a boat. Wes's is about a ranch and a new roping horse. You got to have specific goals. You have it written down where you can review it, and your state of mind's got to be belief. See, there's negative naysayers out there, and if you don't have it written down and your state of mind's not belief, where nobody can waver your mindset and your decision. Do you understand the first time Tuesday night meeting, nobody shows up? First time on the webinar, your guests don't show up. The next time they're supposed to meet you at Starbucks and they don't show up. You know, when that happens 3 or 4 times, it's not very long before you start believing their story that it won't work. Your state of mind's got to be believed. I don't share this in other parts of the country, but, you know, we're in the South. I'm a good Southern Baptist kid. Both my grandpas were deacons in the Baptist church, and I grew up a Christian. Okay? You know, we live in a great country where you can worship whatever you want to. I don't want to insult anybody, but you can lock me in, take all the tables out of here, lock me in this room with 300 atheists, and come back in about a month, and they would not change my mind because I believe. Okay? I want to make sense to you that you have to believe, not hope or wish that entrepreneurs is the answer to your prayers. Not hope or wish that this is how you're going to get that dream home and that dream car, or pay for those grandkids' college tuition. Not hope or wish that this is how you're going to get out of debt. You have to believe it. And you have to know it. And, you know, when the state of mind's belief, anything can happen. But you got to believe it. It can't just be hope or wish, okay? So moving forward, remember that, okay? Write down exactly what it is you want out of the business. Make sure that you're productive, not just active, okay? Now, I will tell you this. I was the hardest person, life in the fast lane in Dallas, Texas. I was one of the ones that was hard to learn how to employ myself, okay? And I had a guy, Wes and I are stopping in Alec to have dinner with him tonight. He taught me. He said, Keith, I'm going to teach you this business. And he says, you got to learn how to hold yourself accountable. Being from the South, my mother was a Dr. Pepper lady. And 10, 2, and 4 was the Dr. Pepper thing. And so he used that as an example. He knows knew my mom and dad really well. And Barry told me, he said, here's what I want to do. 3 times a day, I want you to take 3 minutes, 1 minute, 3 different times out of the day, and I want you to check up on yourself, just like you're the boss. And I said, what do you mean? He said, we're going to use 10, 2, and 4. He said, the evenings always take care of themselves. There's webinars, there's conference calls, there's meetings, there's 3-ways. People off work. You're always productive during the evening. He said, but I'm talking about in the morning. You know, I was that guy that, I'm not a very good golfer, but I'd go play 9 holes, then you end up at lunch, and the lunch turns in from 30 minutes to 3 hours, then you're with your buddies, and you mosey home, and next thing you know, you look up and the whole day's gone by and you haven't been very productive. So what he had me do at 10 a.m. in the morning, he had me stop for 60 seconds, and he had me ask myself, up to this point of my day, what have I done to improve the caliber of my business and the quality of my family's life? He said, you don't have a boss in this business. Your sister's your sponsor. She's making 6 figures a month. She's not worried about what you do. You got to employ yourself. At 10 a.m., I had to ask myself, what have I done up to this point to help my business and improve the quality of my family's lives? And then, if I was off track, that got me back on track. And then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I had to ask myself, up to this point of my day, what have I done to help my business and improve the quality of my family's life? And the same thing at 4. And I did that every single day for like 90 days. And next thing I know, it became a habit. And I made sure that I knew that I was my own boss. And I was the only one that had to hold myself responsible for a certain amount of productivity. So I'm not telling you to use Dr. Pepper. I'm not telling you to use that particular quota. But I'm telling you, put some kind of system in place where you personally hold yourself accountable. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that Chris touched on was planting the harvest. I'm going to share with you one of my secrets. How many of you in here, there's some people in here as old as me. How many people have heard of Clint Eastwood? There's an old movie that he did called 2 Mules for Sister Sarah. And there's a little town in old Mexico called Sonora. Sinaloa. Sinaloa. Now, that was 35 years ago. And since then, the cartels have taken over Sonora, and it's a really bad part of Mexico. But I was taught this acronym, and it stands for Safety in Numbers and Law of Averages. Safety in Numbers and Law of Averages. You heard Chris say, you don't go out today and lease 1,000 acres and harvest a crop tomorrow, right? You got to lease the land, then you got to plow, then you got to plant, then you get the harvest and the irrigate, then you get the harvest in the fall, right? There's a process. Building this business or enrolling somebody in this industry, in your business, is a process, not an event. Don't go and have a cup of coffee with somebody and do that wham bam thank you ma'am and think they're going to become an entrepreneur and buy 4 shareables that time at that time. There's a process involved, kind of like a baseball diamond. Every once in a while you're going to hit a home run, but most of the runs in baseball are done by running the bases, a single at a time. It's a process, not an event. But safety in numbers and law of averages, all that means was we do a lot of meetings in the Midwest, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, all over the place, and I deal with a lot of farmers. That example that Chris used is exactly right. It doesn't happen immediately. There's a process involved. But more important than that, when we talk about the numbers, know that if Chris is planting 10 pounds to the acre, and I'm planting 100 pounds to the acre, and Wes is planting 1,000 pounds to the acre, who's going to have the biggest harvest? Wes is, because he's planting more seeds, right? When we talk about planting seeds in this business, what is planting seeds? Every time you ask somebody to get on a webinar, every time you do a 3-way, every time you pass out a sample, every time you follow up with somebody, that's planting seeds, okay? Now, if Chris is planting 5 seeds a week, and I'm planting 5 seeds a day, who's going to have the biggest harvest? Okay? Now, in other businesses, it had a lot to do with your background, how good a salesman you are, how good a closer you are, how good a follow-up you are, how big of a leader you were in your other company, how big your database is. In our company, it's totally different. You can throw all them demographics out the wall. There are people in our company that's never had success in any industry that has 10 times more customers than I do. Okay? And it's all because of safety in numbers and law of averages. They've got more exposures. They're putting out more samples. The shareable packs, you're going to find out that when people join now, where before they ran out of their bags and the little sachets of coffee, now all of a sudden people's got an arsenal of ammunition, and your groups are going to grow faster simply based on the shareables being available and the data that's available on them. But understand, when you say safety in numbers and law of averages, the person that plants the most seeds is going to have the most commas in their 1099 next year. That's what it's about. Doesn't matter if it's on the internet, it don't matter if it's in a blog, don't matter if you're fax blasting, don't matter if you've got a following on the internet, it doesn't matter if you're talking to whoever. But I can tell you, in this business, don't leave anybody off your list. One of the things Wes told me to be sure to cover is talk about everybody being a prospect. There's nobody on the chicken list here. Everybody is a prospect. If you don't have a list, what's in your phone or whatever, use a memory jogger. Use a memory jogger. I'll share a little bit about that with you. I mean, your mom's Christmas card list, your homeowners association, your PTA list, your church directory. All those things are memory joggers. You're going to go through your mom's Christmas card list or that church directory. You're going to say, oh, no, I forgot about old Ralph and Susie. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. If you don't call Ralph and Susie's going to show up at this training next time, and you're going to wonder why you didn't call them. Okay? And the other great memory jogger is the Yellow Pages. I had a guy the other day tell me, he said, Keith, you told me to start with 200 names. I got 170. Can we just put a star by my top 10 and let's start calling them? I said, no, I'm not going to let you fall short on our very first goal. Our goal was 200. And he says, well, I'm not from here. I'm from Illinois. I haven't lived here very long. I don't have any kids. I'm not as active in my church as I should be. There's only 25 people where I work. I don't know a lot of people. And I said, okay, here's the deal. And I gave him a legal pad and a pencil, and I got out the Yellow Pages. And he said, well, if I could have got names and numbers out of the Yellow Pages, I'd been through yesterday. And I said, no, that's not what we're going to do. I'm going to state an occupation, and you're going to write down the first name that comes to mind. And it didn't go exactly like this, but something like this. A, accountant. B, banker. C, carpenter. D, doctor. E, electrician. F, fireman. And we went through the Yellow Pages, and when we got through, he didn't have 170, he had 317 names on his list. Okay? So my question to you is, how many people did you leave off your list? How many people have you not exposed to the Elevate Coffee? Okay? If you don't go get them, good news travels fast. If you don't go get them, somebody else is going to get them and put them in this business. And what's going to happen is you're going to show up at the next convention, and you're going to say, Uncle Ian, what are you doing here? And he's going to say, well, Ricky sent me some coffee and put me in the business. You're going to say, but you're my favorite uncle, but you didn't call him. So what I tell you to do when you call those family members or those people that are, maybe you just see them at Thanksgiving or Christmas, something, just give them a courtesy call. Something like, hey, Ryan, this is Keith. Hadn't talked to you in a while. Looking forward to seeing you guys on Labor Day weekend. But I want to give you a courtesy call and let you know that Katie and I are in a new business. You know me. I don't just stick my toe in the water. When I commit to something and I do it big. And they're telling me to go get the 10 people that I love and care about the most that I'd like to work with on a day-to-day basis. And my favorite uncle come to mind. Can I get your address so I can send you a sample? In all the other businesses we worked up to this, I had to teach my people to be comfortable putting their credibility on the line. You don't have to sacrifice anything here. Just give everybody a courtesy call. I don't care if it's your banker, your boss, your doctor, all them people that we've left off our list before because we didn't want to walk on thin ice. Those people would like to have a healthy alternative and know that there's a better way than the traditional coffee that they're drinking on a day-to-day basis, okay? Last thing I want to talk about before I turn it over to Wes is, at first, this is kind of a new market. Marcy and Tina was telling me that a lot of people here are new or whatever. Here's what I'll tell you. Right now, you're doing whatever you have to do to build your business, but at the same time, even though you think that you're new, if you have one person in your organization, you're a leader. You got somebody that's looking up to you. I challenge you to lead by example. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Everybody in your group wants to be like you. Okay? They want to be just like you. Don't call your people and ask them to have guests on the Zoom on Thursday night if you're not going to have guests on the Zoom. Don't ask your people to meet you at 9:30 for the training that starts at 10 unless you're going to have people that meet you there at 9:30. Don't ask your people to get on SmartShip for $80 if you're not on SmartShip for $80. Lead by example. They're going to do what you do. They're not going to do what you say. They're going to do what you do. If you have guests on the Zoom, they're going to have guests on the Zoom. If your people show up at the training, they're going to put. Tina, where you at? Is she in here? Tony, I'm sorry, Tony. How many people do you have here on your team?
About 40.
About 40. Okay? Now, the next topic we're going to talk about is going to black some of you's eyes right as I'm closing, okay? Okay? Tony's got 40 people in her group here. How many of you, just like me, and I'm guilty, I'll raise my hand first, how many of you wish you had more of your people here? Okay? That's what I'm talking about. In closing, we're going to talk about probably the most important thing that I'm going to say today. And when we talk about learning how to employ yourself, if you were the boss, Mr. Oblon just walked in. We're going to get to hear from him in just a minute. But if you were Robert, if you were on the board with this company, let's say that you're the president of Elevosity. You've got Larry Cantrell's job. And you're the president of Elevosity, and I'm going to put a badge on you today. We're going to take everybody out of here and take all the desks out other than this one table. And we're going to leave you one chair here, and you're going to set this table, and you're going to be the president of Elevosity. And you're running the Elevopreneur show, okay? Everybody in here, including yourself, we're going to fill out an application to become an Elevopreneur, and we're going to attach our resume to it, and on the back of it, we're going to write down what we've done in the last 2 weeks prior to this event. We're going to write down how many customers we got, how many samples we passed out. We're going to write down how many Elevopreneurs we signed up, how many people we had at this event, how many guests we had on the webinar, and we're going to put that on the back of the application. Everybody's going to leave, and you're sitting right here, and you're the one that's going to review all the applications. I want to close by asking you one real important question. It doesn't matter if you're part-time or full-time, 5 hours a week or 24 hours a day. Ask yourself one important question. Based on your current productivity over the last 2 weeks building for this event, and you were reviewing the data, would you hire yourself? Now, there's some people in here. Tony has 40 people here. You'd hire, should be one of the first ones you hire, right? Okay? You know, Wes Benson got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and drove here. You'd hire him. But my question is, would you hire yourself based on what you've currently done? You remember when I started, I said that nobody's going to fire you or probate you or write you up due to your lack of production. You have to hold yourself accountable. Okay? There was nobody holding yourself accountable for the 2 weeks building up to this event. But what's going to happen, and what Mr. Benson's fixing to talk about, is drawing a line in the sand and making July 28, 2018 your red letter day. And we're not going to talk about what happened prior to this. We're going to talk about what happened. I got born again. I got re-sponsored the correct way on July the 18th, and I'm on July 28th, and I'm going to make sure from this point forward that I don't confuse activity with productivity. I'm going to hold myself accountable for what I'm supposed to do on a day-to-day basis, and I'm going to make sure that I'm productive. Fair enough?
Yep.
Once again, taking sacrifices is what this business is all about. You got to be willing to take sacrifices for you and your team to grow, and I commend you guys for being here. Sometimes, Chris can loan me his boat, or Ian can loan me $500. I can give his boat back, or I can give him his $500 back. But let me share something with you. Your most precious commodity is your time.
Yes.
Something you can never get back. You guys have sacrificed your time to be here. I commend you for that. I hope you get something special out of what Wes and Robert has to say, because this type training is Tony Robbins type stuff that people would pay thousands and thousands of dollars for. So take it very seriously. Listen to me real closely. Regardless of your current situation, it will change your life. It will change your family's life. It will change your stature in the community, your church, your homeowners association, the PTA, whatever you're involved in, whatever you are, you'll be a much better person. Okay? Chris told the story about how I called Donnie Walker. When I first met with Robert, and Robert said, we're gonna pull the trigger, we're gonna do this. He said, Keith, it's not about quantity, it's about quantity. Not about quantity, it's about quality. I know you got 3,700 names in your phone. I don't want you to do an email blast to everybody. He said, I want you to handpick your best. And I told him, I said, if I was building a network marketing company, there's 3 guys that I would call. That's my Michael Jordan, and my Larry Bird, and my Magic Johnson. I got 3 number 1 draft choices. That was Donnie Walker, Wes Benson, and my buddy in Branson, Steve Bailey. And the second phone call I made after Donnie Walker was Wes Benson, and I put him on the phone with Robert. Wes, pillar in the community, speaks, does all kind of things, busy man. But I told him, I said, Wes, regardless of whether or not you do this, Robert Oblon is a guy that you want to say that you know. Will you at least meet with him? And we met at Papado's that day for a 30-minute lunch that turned into 3.5 hours. And Wes has been, just like he's a pillar in the community and with the rodeo associations, he's a pillar in our company. And I am proud to say that he's my partner and my friend. I'm going to turn it over to my buddy, Mr. Wes Benson.